thinks of heavenly beings coming into the world and talking to them. And this angel says, don't do it, Joe. It's going to be all right. Just stick with her, and God will act. And he wakes up in the morning and he says, wow, that was just a dream. But that was a real dream. There was something about that dream that seemed really true. And I'm going to bet on it. So he decides that he won't divorce her at all. He says, I'm going to stick with her. And we'll see what happens. It's such a human story. You and I have been there with the complicated things in our lives, with the hints of which way to turn or not turn, which way is divine and which way is not divine. It's a messy world we live in, and our lives are messy, and our paths in front of us are obscure. But once in a while, you just have to take a chance that the dream is true, that the angel really is an angel. And that's what Joseph does. It's the specificity of God coming into his messy life and acting. That's the center of this gospel story. This is the season, as you probably know, that our Latino brothers and sisters celebrate the Posadas. And the Posadas are a series of maybe nine, or maybe less, evening events in the days leading up to Christmas, in which two people portray Joseph and Mary looking for an inn to stay at. And they go to a prearranged house, and they knock on the door, and they ask if they can come in. And there's a dialogue that takes place with the person who lives there and them. And then finally the person opens the door, and they come in, and all this big party begins, and they all sing Christmas carols, and they eat a lot of food, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a great celebration of how God comes to knock on your door. And you have to decide if you're going to open the door or not. And when you do, all this joy bursts out, and all this community bursts out. And all the sense that Christ really comes to my door is carried in the event of the evening. This last week, the vestry had a meeting, and in the spirit of the Posadas, in the spirit of God knocking on our door, they decided on a contractor to go ahead with the work for the rectory, and they decided that they would push ahead to arrange for the apartment to be turned into an apartment for a refugee family, working with the refugee resettlement program at Dorcas. And they set up a fund called the Refugee Family Fund, and in fact you'll probably get a letter inviting you to contribute to that fund, because they need to raise some money to do this. But the spirit of what they're doing is the spirit of the Posada, of the refugee knocking on our door, saying, let us in, God will be born. And that's the spirit of this Sunday. This is the spirit of God coming to earth in the messiness of our lives and being born in a baby out of wedlock, in a refugee come to our door, in strangers knocking on the door and wanting to come in. It's in the very specific messiness of our lives that God comes and invites us to open the door and let him in And that's the fulfillment of Advent. That's what we've been waiting for. We've been preparing for. We've been lighting our candles of hope and joy and faith and peace. And now comes the moment when God knocks, when God visits us in a dream.